Welcome to the Visionary Chronicles, a podcast dedicated to uncovering the strategies and insights that drive innovative, disruptive businesses. Join us as we explore the mindsets, cultures, and solutions powering the next generation of industry leaders and creative trailblazers. Whether you're seeking to inject new life into your organization or spark transformative growth, the Visionary Chronicles is your guide to executable, cutting-edge business strategy. Hello and welcome to the Visionary Chronicles. Appreciate you being with us again today. Hopefully, everybody has their holiday shopping out of the way. And I thought today with the Visionary Chronicles, we would talk about teams. I know at the end of the year, we get a lot of questions in regards to how do we either reset, become more effective, more efficient as a team, as a brand, whatever it is. And I felt it's really valuable at this time of year to talk about that because you really need to, as a leader and as a brand and as a company, talk to your team. Talk to them about what things need to change. How can you be better as a brand? How can you be better as a leader? And how can you empower them to exceed expectations and grow within their role? So I thought always a great role model for this and company for this. We'll take a step back again and we'll talk predominantly a little bit about the evolution of Apple and Steve Jobs and kind of incorporate that in because I think it's really effective when we start talking about empowering teams, thinking big and being different and whatever you do as a company, as a brand, your service, your product, whatever it may be. So today on the Visionary Chronicles, we're going to talk about the subject of empowering your teams to be different and think big. And starting out with a quote, as I normally do, I always felt this one was very motivational for me. I don't know about you. Most people have heard it, but it is stay hungry, stay foolish, Steve Jobs. Enough said. You know, there's always one of the greatest presidents of all time, man of few words, Abraham Lincoln, and I felt Steve's the same way on the business side. He can be a man of very few words, but extremely impactful in whatever he says. And those four words really hold true today. And in the world that we live in, the distractions that we have, all the areas of improvement that we have to look at, many times it's very easy just to throw your hands up and go, geez, I can't do all this. And I get it. But there's one thing that most visionary leaders have, if not all of them have. And in my book, The Visionary the Visionary Brand, success formula behind the world's most visionary brands, I talk about that with leaders. I kind of mentioned this earlier, and I just finished the manuscript of my next book, and that's where I was mentioning the visionary leader. Steve is in the book as well. And the four words, again, stay hungry, stay foolish, applies very much today as it did back in the day when Steve mentioned it. And as a leader and as someone that's empowering teams, it's very important for your team to stay hungry and to stay foolish on the design, product side, marketing side, whatever it is. Foolishness is risk-taking and reward as a result of staying foolish. It's counterintuitive to a lot of people, a lot of leaders, but certainly staying hungry and staying foolish certainly applies as much today as it is back in the day when Steve mentioned it. So we're going to go a little bit in depth today on this empowering your teams, this being different, thinking big. So again, welcome to the Visionary Chronicles. And we're going to talk about empowering teams to think big and be different. And I think it's a great conversation to have with your teams. We're going to have several bullet points here. Like this aspirational Steve Jobs that he deployed really at Apple, taking it really from the brink of bankruptcy to the most valuable company on the planet was miraculous. But how did he do it? And a visionary leader has to cultivate an environment that fosters creativity, boldness, and this what we call relentless pursuit of excellence. So we're going to talk about the following areas where leaders can really focus their empowerment efforts to consistently and effectively inspire their teams to achieve this visionary mindset. And in the new book that I'm writing, and again, finish the manuscript on the visionary leader, it talks about leaders going all the way back to Alexander the Great, Socrates, all the way to Elon Musk and Steve Jobs. And really what you're looking at is aspiring this visionary mindset, but for the principles that these visionary leaders had are all very similar. And when we talk about empowering your teams, it's these principles that visionary leaders have that they then apply to empowering their teams, because they recognize you cannot do it by yourself. You have to have the humility to understand what your strengths and your weaknesses are, strengthen your strengths, and strengthen your weaknesses. But the way you want to strengthen your weaknesses is with your team and apply those strengths that you have to ensure that your teams succeed. There's no better way to be humble than to give all the credit to your team. So when we talk about empowering your team, it's really a lot of principles that visionary leaders deploy in their work day to day. So we're going to talk about a few principles here, not all, but certainly the ones that I feel are the most important principles when you're talking about being a visionary leader and looking to authentically, and I say authentically, because you have to have a passion around ensuring that you want to empower your teams. Don't be a helicopter boss. Don't be a helicopter leader. Unless you have a clear vision, not only does your team not understand the strategy, the aspiration, and the inspiration behind where the brand is going, but neither do you. It's a map with no clear direction as to where you're going. So these principles, hopefully, as you aspire to be a visionary leader, are ones that when I looked in all of the visionary leaders from centuries, again, from Socrates to Alexander the Great, Abraham Lincoln to Steve Jobs and Elon Musk today, all of these leaders that I've studied have had these principles of empowering their teams. And I'm going to give you a few, but as we go through the next few weeks, I'll also give you additional principles that the visionary leaders deploy in order to empower their team. It's an ulterior motive, by the way, that when you empower your team, it gives you more power to do more things. So it's a win-win situation, as Stephen Covey says in First Things First and 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. So it's one of these things and principles that you need to understand in order to aspire to be a visionary leader, but you have to be authentic and you have to be consistent with these principles. So the first is having what I call an unwavering vision of excellence. Steve Jobs was known for his ability to inspire teams with a clear, ambitious vision focused on revolutionizing industries and delivering excellence. So when you're looking at your industry, whether it be a product or a service, it does not matter. But when you're looking at a vision of excellence, what it means is putting together a strategy that allows you to effectively and efficiently dominate a market and the steps to achieving that through your team. Can you imagine this type of inspirational vision back in the day when Steve said we're going to disrupt the music industry? And he mapped out a plan very clearly as to how they're going to do that and how that inspired their team. But also a consistent passion that was unwavering. And unwavering here means you're not changing your course every mile. You're in it for the long run. So it's an unwavering vision of excellence that you need to achieve. So with this, how is that achieved? Number one is you set fearless goals that challenge these conventional boundaries that most people think of. Number two is you ensure the vision is customer-centric. Stephen always said customers don't know what they want until you tell them what they want. You need to emphasize creating groundbreaking experiences for your customers that they talk about. And once they do try it along the journey that you have given them an experience in your new product or service, they'll want to come back. Not only do they want to come back, but they want to tell others to come back. And guess what happens? This ecosystem is developed and deployed. And number 3 is regularly communicate the why behind the mission to keep teams aligned and motivated. There's going to be times where you're going to run into storms. You're going to run into COVID-19 situations that we've all had. And the brands that we had with Liquid Mind, we would constantly be putting this up on the whiteboard when we were doing our strat sessions with the leaders of these brands and making sure that they understood, stick to your vision. Always chart a path that achieves your vision. You can alter your course, but never the destination. So regularly communicate the whys to your team. Number 2 is build a culture that values thinking differently. And what I mean by thinking differently is similar to what Steve did. Is why do things have to be the way they are? Steve asks that all the time. Why do I have to put a CD into a case and have it not operate or the battery run out? Those are problems for Steve. They were bad experiences for the customer. So he corrected those. Why do I have to put a new CD in after every 13 songs? So he set 1,000 songs in my pocket through the iPod. And not only that, the way music was purchased back in the day didn't make any sense. I'm a vinyl enthusiast as well, but it doesn't make any sense that that's the main mode of purchase with music. It has to be something that's accessible, something that is a tool, and the iPod was a tool to download music versus having to go into a store similar to Blockbuster back in the day, for those that you remember, having to rent a VCR tape and going back home and renting it and then having to put it in the mail and send it back again. Netflix came along, similar to what Apple did with the music industry, and disrupted it and completely changed it. So these are the values of thinking differently. Think different wasn't just a tagline. It was the essence of Apple's culture. So, number 1, encourage unconventional thinking by questioning constantly the industry norms and assumptions. Foster diversity of thought. You thought I was going to say something else. People for sure, but many times you think of diversity of thought as well, bringing together people with unique perspectives and experiences. Steve loved poets. He loved those that were artists. Others who aren't creative and don't have diversity of thought have engineers, program managers, whatever it is. You still need those people, but you need diversity of thought in the product room with the marketing team to be able to come up with creative ideas and have diversity of thought and thinking. So thinking different. And number 3 is reinforce the value of bold. Sometimes you'd say contrary ideas, even if they initially seem really impractical. You have to go with those and keep those on the board. So thinking different. Number 3 is set relentlessly high standards. So I use these words because not a lot of people use them. Is that if you're going to be different and have big ideas, you need to have relentless high standards. And why do you need that? And Steve had this obsession with perfection. He pushed his teams to deliver revolutionary products like the iPod, the iPhone, the iMac. And yeah, he was a pain in the ass to deal with. But look what the end results were. And even to this day, those that were involved with Steve during the evolution and creation and commercialization of these products talk about it to this day as the greatest experience of their life, even though he was a pain in the ass. So you have to look at what is your intention here. Do you want to set relentlessly high standards, or do you want to compromise? If you're going to be a visionary leader, much less a visionary brand, this is an absolute essential standard you have to stay in place and not give into it. So the first is demand excellence in every detail, from design to functionality to user experience. The second is hold teams accountable for delivering work that exceeds expectations. Encourage pride in your craftsmanship and innovation, no matter how small the contribution is. Many times, brands and teams where you start looking at, you'll see the flow of what I'm talking about. When you're empowering teams, is that at some point, the electricity is pulled. The passion is gone. The ability for you to relentlessly set high standards and people be held accountable to those is only driven by your vision and your passion and your authentication to keep moving forward regardless of the circumstances, and you stick to what your principles are as a brand. So number 4 is empowering teams with autonomy and ownership. Teams innovate best when they feel trusted to take risk and lead initiatives. Can you imagine these, what they call helicopter leaders? You don't want anybody like that in your room. You want people that give them the idea makers, the designers, the marketing team, those that build the brand, build the vision, and execute it out into the marketplace to take risks and allow them the ability to take risk. But you can measure it, but don't squash it. Creativity disappears very quickly and frustration sets in. Individuals can explore and execute their ideas with a larger vision, number 1. Number 2, avoid micromanagement while maintaining accountability for results. You can do both. You can balance those. Many times when we whiteboard this with Liquid Mind in our brands, we find that people are adverse to risk-taking. Well, again, I will say again with Seth Godin, one of the greatest quotes ever is, safe is risky. And by the way, there's been no great product ever commercialized in our history without first taking risk, second, having failed. Not failed once, not twice, 3 times. And I use the classic Thomas Edison. I've just found 909,999 ways not to invent the light bulb. In 10,000, he found a way to invent the light bulb. So you want to make sure that when you look at that, giving them autonomy and ownership, that individuals can explore and execute their ideas, again, with larger vision, no micromanaging, allow teams to own projects, foster a sense of pride and individual responsibility when they do achieve anything and everything. And number 5 is an interesting one as well. And you'll see with all of these principles that I'm talking about with empowering your teams are different words and things that people don't talk about, but they're crucial to being visionary. Inspire curiosity and lifelong learning. Learning is important. Curiosity is even more important. So when Steve Jobs was deeply inspired by art, technology, humanities, he blended all these together to become who he was as a visionary leader of a great brand that became the most valuable company on the planet. So number 1, you want to encourage teams to explore interest beyond their core responsibilities. Give them a breath of fresh air. Get them outside of the 4 walls. You're not going to have any creativity and passion and continuation and authentication in the marketplace until you get out and explore the world. So have them explore interests beyond their responsibilities, number 1. Number 2 is have workshops, events, talk across disciplines, and fuel creativity where you find an opportunity to apply things that you've seen in the real world to the reality of who you are as a brand. Number 3 is celebrate the intersection of art, science, technology as a foundational principle for innovation. This is the heart and soul of Steve's Think Different campaign with the crazy ones. If you haven't seen it, it's the greatest commercial ever produced. It was only shown once in the Super Bowl, and then it was put in a can. But it's the greatest commercial ever. It's the Think Different campaign and the Crazy Ones. The line from that was awesome. Number 6 is encourage bold risk-taking. Jobs was not afraid of failure. He embraced it as part of his journey to greatness. Failure is part of success. Success is not achieved without failure. Success is not achieved without risk. Risk, failure, success. Those are the 3 steps in evolution to creating an innovative and disruptive product for your industry. There's no other path to succeeding other than those 3 steps. Create a safe, what I call safe environment for risk and big ideas. They're encouraged. Number 2 is reward attempts to innovate, even if they don't succeed. It's not a big deal. But if you are never risk-taking, all you are then is a commodity service or a commodity brand, just imitating the leaders, watching what they're doing, and making it cheaper. But it's a previous generation, and who you're following has already moved on to the next generation. This is the mode that we were in with Oakley. Jim Gennard, the great visionary of Oakley, never cared about products that others imitated because we were moving. We were always challenging ourselves first, not the industry first. That's what followers do, not leaders. Leaders challenge themselves to continue to be the leaders within their industry. So share examples of transformative ideas that emerged when there was early setbacks. There's a ton of lessons from Apple, like the Lisa, which led to the Macintosh. So it's stories of evolution as much as it is failure. Finding the positive out of the negative. Number 7 is create products with a purpose. Always emphasize creating products that enrich lives, not just fulfilled functions. That was a key part of Apple's success, was they recognized the simplicity and the friendliness of building the iMac. It had a little smile on its front face with the iMac, 2 little eyeballs with the mouth on the front. You could easily carry it. And Steve's demonstration was, hey, if I have to read the instruction manual to set up my computer, it's too complicated. So his steps were, number 1, pull it out of the box. Number 2, plug it in. Number 3, hit the power button. That's 3. Find ways to make the journey or the experience with your customers easier, more effective, more efficient, where they enjoy the journey. It's not a torture trail for them. So push teams to ask, how will this change people's lives for the better? Refine these ideas until they embody simplicity, elegance, functionality. Continually be thinking about that as a brand. Number 8 is create this simplicity in your products. It's beautiful to see simplicity where it's executed at a high level. Apple always believed in simplicity. It was the ultimate sophistication is simplicity, driving Apple to strip away unnecessary complexity in all of their products. There's a reason they have the ecosystem that they do. So on how you achieve that is step number 1 is you help teams focus on what truly matters and eliminate distractions. Too many times that we've seen with Liquid Mind and working with brands is that we've seen leaders stay focused on something that doesn't matter to the overall vision of the brand. Move on from that. Streamline processes to give more room for creativity and innovation. That's another big part of it. As you continue to surf what I call this innovation pipeline or building this innovation pipeline that you're going to surf for generations, guess what? Make it more streamlined. Make your processes easier for your design team. Make the execution from vision to reality and commercialization more streamlined. It not only decreases your commercialization timeline, but it brings product to market quicker and also builds your front-end innovation pipeline and adoption curve so you can drop more products on the back end while you're building innovative, high price point, high margin products on the front end for your early adopters. Number 9 is provide a constructive, and I use 2 words here for a reason, direct feedback. Too many people have direct feedback without being constructive, and that's a problem. You can do both. And the leaders that say they can't, I call BS on. Steve was known for his candid, let's say sometimes harsh feedback, but it pushed teams to grow and excel in their roles. And how you do this is you offer clear, honest critiques to refine ideas and improve the results of your team. Number 2 is you challenge your team to think bigger. We want to think big and better while maintaining respect for their efforts. Meaning they are going to fail. Have them understand we're going to embrace risk, but the end result is failure, eventually leading to success. So balance directness with encouragement to ensure teams remain motivated. They stay inspired and attached to your vision and dedicated to your vision as a team. Number 10 is model resilience and perseverance as you move along on this path. The journey for Steve after being ousted from Apple and returning to build it is a testament to resilience and long-term thinking. When Steve came back, he had an idea of what he wanted to do. So there's also a strategy built around reinventing your vision and achieving success through doing that. So how you do that is you lead by example, showing resilience in the face of challenges. They look to you because you're going to have risk, have failure. Who you're going to turn to other than somebody that's bashing a designer or someone in product or service for doing something that you knew at the outset was risky. And the likelihood of failure was probably 100%. But you've just found, as Thomas Edison would say famously, you've just found another way that doesn't work, but you've moved a step closer to commercializing that product. So encourage team to persist through setbacks, learning and iterating until they achieve the breakthroughs that you're looking to achieve. And reinforce innovation, and this is kind of a cool word I like to use, it's an adaptation, as a marathon. It isn't a sprint. And the rewards come to those who persevere. If you look at a marathoner and you look at any runner, you look at any athlete in general across any sport, it could be football, basketball, baseball, whatever it is, everybody uses this word persevere, and it's a very powerful word. And I love the adaptation of using the word persevere to teams when you talk about resilience. So make sure that they understand it's a marathon. We're in it for the long run, not the sprint. Once we achieve, we have then a path to building this innovation pipeline and successfully riding that for generations. And the 11th is creating space for big ideas to incubate. Steve always believed in the power of time and focus to develop bold ideas. He was renowned for walking in the grass in his bare feet over noon or in the afternoon, bringing his team with him, going outside and communing with Mother Nature. So allocate dedicated time for brainstorming and creative exploration. Too many times we get caught up in the 4 walls, and we don't get outside and enjoy the beauty of nature and all the inspiration that you get from that. So make sure that your teams do that. And protect your team from unnecessary distractions. Focus on high priority items, long-term projects. Encourage iterative thinking. And iterative is also a key word here when we talk about visionary leaders empowering their teams. Iterative is really refining a great idea. Potentially great idea. But it really is something that not a lot of people think about. It's the steps and the incremental improvement along commercializing a great innovative product. Number 12 is reinforce the importance of storytelling. And this is an interesting one because nobody talks about it. We whiteboard this. We go, what is your story? Well, many leaders will ask us, well, what do you mean, what is our story? Why are you doing this? How does it make somebody's life better? What's the journey that they go through to use your product or your service? And how is it different from what they're doing today? And how's it going to make their life easier? So you want to teach your teams and empower your teams to frame their ideas in compelling ways that are interesting to your consumer. So use storytelling to connect their work to company's broader mission and celebrate their successes through stories that highlight the journey of thinking differently. So it's really an important aspect of achieving that visionary status as a brand and as a company and as a leader. And number 13, the last one, probably not all of them, but I would say they're probably the most important ones, is lead with passion and belief. I put this last for a reason, is because too many visionary or leaders, let's just say, not visionary, lose the passion of their vision. And as a result, they lose the passion and the integrity and the passion of their teams. And as a result of that, the belief in executing the vision disappears. It's very tough to get that back with your team. Once you've done something that's not authentic to the principles of the brand or the foundation of the brand or the vision of the brand and the mission of the brand, you need to show genuine enthusiasm and belief in the vision consistently. Number 2, you need to be present, engaged, and deeply involved in the creative process. That was so critical to Steve, that he was with the team, engaged with the team, that he just didn't come down from his upper tower in order to bash the team or to talk to the team about something that they're not doing and they're doing incorrectly or not the way he wants them to do without him being involved in that process. So you want to inspire teams by demonstrating an unwavering commitment to making a difference in this world. So again, these are 13 principles that you can apply to empower your teams to think big and be different. One is have an unwavering vision of excellence. Number 2 is to build a culture that values thinking differently. Number 3 is set relentlessly high standards. Number 4 is empower your teams with autonomy and ownership, inspire curiosity and lifelong learning. Number 6 is encourage bold risk-taking. Number 7, create products with purpose. 8, celebrate simplicity. 9 is provide constructive, direct feedback. 10 is model resilience and perseverance. 11 is create space for big ideas to incubate. 12 is reinforce the importance of storytelling. Number 13 is lead with passion and belief. So kind of my final thoughts here again is that we've gotten a lot of feedback from leaders on how they become visionary. And one of the key principles to that is empowering your team to think big and to be different. So a visionary leader must combine this inspiration, this discipline, boldness to think big and be different, like Steve did back in the day with Apple. Leaders can unlock that full creative potential by fostering an environment where teams feel empowered to challenge the industry norms, to take risks, and to pursue excellence with a passion. It's this relentless pursuit of excellence. The goal isn't just to innovate, but it's always to do it in fundamental ways that change the world and change the game that we live in today. So these are principles that are crucial, integral to being a visionary leader, but empowering your teams to allow you to achieve that success. And it's the only way you're going to be able to do that and achieve visionary status as a brand or as a leader. So I always say, stay true, stay authentic, be different, be great, but enjoy the journey along the way. And as always, I appreciate your time. And also I wanted to put out there, if those would want to and feel like what we're putting out there with the Visionary Chronicles is useful to you as a business leader, an entrepreneur, and achieving that visionary status, please pass this along. We've had great feedback, and we do love your feedback. If you'd like to reach out to me directly at Brian, Bryan, at liquidmindsight.com. Happy to answer any questions you might have. And it's liquid, liquidmindsite.com. And also the Visionary Brand, the success formula behind the world's most visionary brand, is a book I recently released, which a lot of this content came from. We have case studies in there. It's a best-selling book, as well as received the Reader's Favorite Award for Best Nonfiction and Business Marketing genre. And we just released off the Visionary Brand a master course available at the visionaryfiles.com. And it's almost 2 hours of video learning segments. And it allows you to unleash what we talk about here, visionary leadership. So it's a visual and verbal, 18 different courses, almost 2 hours. You can skip through it, the different chapters, really literally chapter by chapter in the book, but more in-depth information as well as a presentation that are part of that course. And of course, reach out to us at Liquid Mind, LIQUIDMIND, at liquidmindsight.com, LIQUIDMINDSITE.com. We are a brand advisory firm based in Southern Cal, and we do have free advisory sessions, so feel free to go up to sign up there at liquidmindsight.com. And we also have a new service, which is one that was requested by several of the leaders that we work with, this one-to-one advisory that we call sessions. So we have sessions, one-to-one advisory sessions. Could be 30 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour session. You book a meeting with us, and we go through your most important questions and support you along that journey of becoming visionary. And we also have a blog, and you can follow me at LinkedIn, Instagram, or X. I'm at Brian Smeltzer at LinkedIn, Brian Smeltzer 33 at Instagram, and at Brian_Smeltzer at X. And again, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. And we look forward to the next Visionary Chronicles, where we'll expand upon this visionary leadership and also how to empower your team. So again, thank you for your time. Have a great day, and I look forward to the next Visionary Chronicles.